welcome everyone to today's presentation on the basics of estimating and starting up an estimating program. In today's webinar, we'll be touching on the topics, as you see there, best practices in estimating, key components of an estimating model, estimating the project deliverable, identification of risk factors, and properly managing and end-user expectations. So we'll be going through those topics in the next few minutes. So we're going to tackle the first one, best practices in estimating. The Software Engineering Institute, SEI, has certain requirements that they have laid out for good estimating, and you'll see those on your screen there. The first is a corporate historical database, and we're going to talk more about historical databases later. But as a note here, if you're just starting out or your measurement program or estimating program is not mature, you may not have an in-house historical database at such time that you're ready to do estimating and do not have a historical database. You will need to get an outside source of historical information of industry data. And just as a note, none of it is free out there. There is an international group that organizations from all over the world put their data in as a member, and that is called International Software Benchmarking Standards Group, which is abbreviated ISBSG, and we always call it ISBAG. So if you hear that term, that's what it is. And it's a great source of industry data, no matter the type of project or industry or whatever. Any of these other places that may have historical data would be vendors, and just as a reference, you may go out to the International Function Point User Group site, which is IFPUG, IFPUG.org, and go out to their related vendor sites and such, and all of these different types of vendors and ISBAGs will be listed there with their links. So instead of me telling you all the different ones, you can just go there and peruse what the various vendors offer historical data and tools and such. So just keep that in mind. And again, if you don't have your own historical database, you will have to start out with using a vendor or an ISBAG database. In the meantime, you would want to start building your own corporate database of historical data, and we will talk more about that later. But that's a critical piece there. You got to have a historical database. You can't estimate something unless you have something to estimate against. The next bullet, they talk about structured processes for estimating product size and reuse. And we're going to talk more about that in detail in a few slides. Product size, I obviously use function point analysis, and actually in the ISBAG database, the vast majority, more than 90% of projects and applications in that use function points as their sizing. Various tools also use function points, as well as things like lines of code. Those are the two predominant, with lines of code being mostly used by more of your defense, government defense industry. So we're going to talk later about a structured process for estimating your project size. The next thing is a mechanism for extrapolating benchmark characteristics of past projects. Again, I've mentioned various vendors have tools to do that, or if you're just starting out and not sure which tool to buy, you can sort of have your own in-house methodology of doing that with just maybe some spreadsheets or some sort of quick and dirty program that you've written to do that. The next bullet is audit trails. Audits are always a good idea, no matter what you're doing, to have audit trails for your future projects using your past projects, and you always want to be able to make sure that you can identify what you have done and support your estimations and that sort of thing. The next bullet talks about integrity and dealing with dictated cost and schedules. So we will be talking about how you're going to set up good processes and procedures so you have that integrity built in. And then the last bullet is saying that you have data collection and feedback processes that foster correct data interpretation. And we'll be talking a little more about that, how you need standardized and documented processes and procedure consistent throughout your organization. Moving on. Estimating challenge. This first couple of bullets to me are very staggering and alarming. Only 16.2% of software projects are completed on time and on budget. And in larger companies, as reported by the Standards Group, this figure drops to only 9%. I spent about 20 years as a developer, and I guess I probably shouldn't be astounded by those figures, but they are pretty alarming. So you're listening to this today, hopefully to find out how to better estimate in order to hopefully increase those percentages so that you can help your organization complete the software projects on time, on budget, and of course, not only that, but with high quality. A lot of what influences the success of a development project is variable. You don't have a lot of control over a lot of things, but with a good software management program instituted, you will be able to handle those variables much better so that you can reduce the risk to your projects. So estimating is one way of helping you deal with those variables, not only at the beginning of the software project, but throughout, to re-estimate as there are changes in the scope and definition and requirements of the project. So obviously, if you don't have a good process to estimate and to control your projects, your schedules, your budgets are going to really be negatively impacted, and that in turn will make you have some very unhappy customers who then things just seem to get worse and worse and spiral downwards. So with a good program set up, you'll be able to minimize all of that and the end product being a happy customer, but not only a happy customer, a happy project team, because I know when I was a developer, I certainly didn't like working a lot of overtime and unpaid overtime. And with good processes in place, that will be minimized, and you wind up having more satisfied project teams, which will then just in turn lead to more success in the future. Okay, considerations in getting started on all this. Why are we estimating? We've got to ask, each organization has to ask these questions because every organization is different. Why are you estimating? Is it because